Welcome to Strong Girl Style. Welcome back to the podcast, everybody. Thank you for tuning in here today. I'm sitting in my super cozy, comfy living room right now. I decorated for Christmas last week, so of course I've got all the things. It's snowing outside. The cozy vibes are here, and I'm kind of loving it. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of was dreading the winter months. I don't know, I just feel like when it's cold outside, it's snowing. First of all, I do not like driving in snow. That scares me a lot. But also, I don't know, the motivation, it's just so much harder to want to get outside and want to do things when it's just so cozy inside. You know what I mean? But I was super pumped because this is my first year decorating for Christmas in my own house. So, of course, I had to buy all the things. I have 2 trees up, which is a little bit crazy, but I love it so much. My parents gave me their old Christmas tree that they weren't using anymore because they moved and they wouldn't have space for it. So I've got a huge Christmas tree in my entryway, and then I have another Christmas tree that I just got on my main floor, which I'm currently sitting in front of. Got the garland under my TV, the stockings. Oh, I got a little Christmas village too. Apparently those are like super trending right now. Little Christmas village. I just love it. I love in the evening in particular when I have all the ceiling lights off and I just got my lamps and the Christmas lights and the candles. It is just my favorite time of year. It makes me so happy and it's so cozy, other than the fact that I have to drive in the snow. But aside from that, I'm happy to be home. I was just away in Scotland competing at the Rogue Invitational, which was a lot of fun. I have never been to Scotland before, so that was the first. Honestly, it was beautiful there. I had a really good time once I figured out how to get around because they don't have Uber. Imagine that. They don't have Uber. They have these taxis, which is basically like Uber, but it's really hard to get around and use. They're not very efficient, the taxi apps, at least in my opinion. So that was a whole new learning curve, but it ended up working out. I was very happy with how the competition went overall. It was a very heavy weekend. If you were following along, you saw every workout included lifting something heavy off the ground, or just moving heavy weights in general. So that was very taxing on the body, but I actually was able to pleasantly surprise myself with a lot of events. There was one workout in particular that had a lot of deadlifts in them, and the weights increased with each round. The last bar was 350 pounds. That's basically my one rep max deadlift prior to when I hurt my back. And so I was pretty nervous about that. But huge win. I finished under the time cap. I was able to lift that bar, which was actually crazy. But I just feel like as a whole, there were a lot of wins throughout the weekend. But on top of that, I actually got pretty sick. So when did I start feeling unwell? I think Wednesday, I started to feel just like common cold symptoms, not great, but I was like, I'm fine. Thursday morning, I woke up feeling absolutely terrible, like death, like very sore throat, like a like crazy head cold, headache. My nose was insanely congested. I had this really wicked cough that felt like it was coming from really like deep in my chest. I felt really bad. And then on top of that, sorry if this is TMI, but on top of that, I also got my period. So I was like, I just feel so bad right now. And competition was Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So I was like, you know what? We're here. I've got to do what I'm going to do. It is what it is. Things like this happen. It's part of being an athlete, unfortunately. And it's very rare to show up at a competition with all things aligning perfectly the way that you want them to be. So you got to deal with a bit of adversity sometimes. And as much as I was dreading that, I knew that I had been looking forward to the weekend for a long time, and the workouts did look pretty fun, and I just wanted to make the most of the weekend. So I did what I could, and I felt terrible on Monday just putting my body through that and still not feeling well, also on top of the weekend itself. I got home. I still wasn't feeling very good, so I ended up going to the doctor's, and turns out I had bronchitis. So no wonder I wasn't feeling very good. And I just the whole weekend, like, I've had many colds in my life, obviously, and I was like, this is different. This is like, I feel like very sick. And like, I was like, my chest, like, I kept saying that the whole weekend to Matt, my coach, and just like my mom, she was there too. And I was like, my chest, it just feels like so heavy and like I can't breathe. I kept saying, I feel like I can't breathe. And like I could breathe, but it just felt very labored. And so turns out that's what the issue was. So thankfully I was able to see the doctor on Wednesday, got some stuff to help me out with that, but I'm still currently dealing with that, which is very unfortunate. I did not do anything workout wise for 7 days. And I think that's the longest I've gone in a really long time of not doing any sort of workout. But I think my body really needed it. I'm starting to finally feel better. I worked out a little bit today. Today was the first time in 7 days that I did anything. I didn't feel amazing, but it also felt good to move. I am feeling better. I also just don't want to rush this and push it. I'm really trying to learn to listen to my body better, because I could have just started training and started pushing myself way too soon. But especially with the lungs, you don't want to overdo it too soon, which is what I'm really trying to be good about, as hard as it is. It's funny, I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel like I take for granted the fact that I'm always healthy and, my body can do this. When you can't do it, I know it's just a little sickness here for me, but it really just puts things into perspective and makes me appreciate it so much more when I am healthy and able to do it again. So I am just a little bit nervous with this whole recovery process, because I'm not sure how long it's going to take for me to be able to get back to training. Right now I'm just doing very low intensity, like can't really do anything aerobic right now, which sucks. But I'm nervous just given I have 5 weeks until I leave for the WFP finals, and obviously it's the finals, it's a big one, so I'm stressing. Old me would be very stressed and probably rush into things too soon, but like I said, I'm really just trying to listen to my body and not get too ahead of myself, and hopefully I'll be better soon enough and then I can start rebuilding. But anyways, that was a huge long recap, but that's what's been going on the last couple weeks. Today I wanted to do another confession session. Ooh, that's a fun way to say confession session. A lot of you wrote in some really great confessions recently, so I wanted to give it another go with these episodes. I know I personally like these episodes and hearing from you guys. If you're listening to this and you want to share something for the next confessions episode, I have a link that's in my Instagram bio. It's like a Google form or something. Yeah, it's a Google form. So when you click on that, you can write in and I'll be able to see it in there. It's completely anonymous, so I can't see who it's from unless you write your name in it. But yeah, that's how you can write in if you're wanting to for the next episode. But anyways, let's get right into today's confessions. Again, there's a lot of really good ones today, so I'm really excited about this episode here. Hope you guys enjoy it. All right, confession 1. I've been doing CrossFit / strength training for about 4 years now, so I started around the end of my 8th grade year. I absolutely love it, and it had such a positive impact on my mental and physical health. That being said, I've always struggled with the food aspect of it. I get upset that I've been working out for so long yet haven't seen huge results, and I fear most of it has to do with me not eating enough. I always get so torn between wanting to be strong yet wanting to stay skinny. It doesn't help when people are always commenting about how I perform at my weight. I know they mean well, but saying 225 for 5 at 100 pounds is crazy. Doesn't always come across as a compliment when you struggle with appreciating your body. I know if I eat more or simply just eat right, I will perform better and get stronger, but it's not as easy as it sounds. I'm just hoping one day the stupid battle with food and body image will end, and I can just see fitness as something I love and not something that I have to do. First of all, I just want to say thank you for sharing this. I know that probably wasn't easy, so I just want to acknowledge that and say thank you, because I'm sure, unfortunately, you're probably not the only one feeling that way. I know myself, I can absolutely relate to what you wrote in, and I know firsthand that it's not as easy as it sounds, but I can tell you that you will find the balance one day of eating to fuel your body and appreciate it for what it can do. And honestly, you're already one step there by just acknowledging the way that you feel about it and that you want to make a change. And I know that it can feel very frustrating when you want to make a change, but your mind has been programmed to think a certain way for so long, and it has been operating that way for a while. And making a change like this is very hard and it's uncomfortable, but I promise you it is so much better on the other side. And when you just zoom out a little bit and figure out what your priorities are, which may be performing well, nourishing your body, and just feeling confident in your skin, it can make things feel a lot simpler. Don't get me wrong though, I still have the toxic thoughts pop up for myself, that's for sure. But I've learned to hear them, acknowledge that they're there, and then just let them pass, because I know that they don't serve me and my purpose and my priorities anymore. I started very young competing and doing CrossFit. I think actually around the same age as you. I think I was around the end of grade 7 is when I started. But I was always a very lean kid and teenager. It eventually got to the point in my career where I needed to be stronger. And that means putting on more muscle mass, and sometimes that results in not being as lean anymore. And I really struggled with that thought. I also have always felt very validated by other people's comments on my body, and I used to use that as an indication as to how prepared I was for a competition. So, for example, the more people commented on my body, like, you are looking shredded, you're super lean, you look so fit, the more ready I felt, which is a little bit crazy to think about now. I will never forget, someone said to me, I know you're ready for the games because your abs are popping. And I was probably 16, 17 at the time. And honestly, that has forever stuck with me and has really held a lot of control over the way that I approached training and eating for a really long time. I know a lot of girls struggle with this, and there's often so much talk about women in sports and the way that they look, whatever, they're too lean, they're too bulky, they don't even look like an athlete. Whatever the comments are, there's always so many of them, and unfortunately, so many times, myself included, those words can hold so much meaning to us. I've certainly dealt with a lot of noise on that front, but I'm also guilty of talking to myself in a way that's very condescending and just wanting to be very lean, because once you see yourself that way once, it's almost addicting, and you don't want it to go away. I've talked about before how I used to track my food and how that was healthy for me for many years, until I kind of started to fall into this trap where I hated seeing the numbers. I was eating a lot, and every time I would log, I didn't like seeing how much I was eating, and I just became so consumed by food and wanting to restrict, and then feeling like I had to work out. I feel like I was struggling with this for a really long time, and just being scared of food and feeling like I had to work out to maintain a certain aesthetic, which made training not feel very fun anymore. All that to say, I've finally come to a place now where I've accepted that my body is going to fluctuate, especially now that I'm not a kid anymore and I'm growing into my womanly body. I think the moment that you can become less consumed with how you look and start working out for your performance goals and just to feel good, your body will automatically reciprocate the good energy you're giving it. And that's exactly what happened to me. I got to a point where I just felt so out of control with how I was looking, and I felt like I was doing everything, trying to restrict, like working out a lot, all of the things, and my body was just becoming so inflamed. And I honestly got to a point where I was like, I have nothing to lose. I really started to view food as a tool and as a way to nourish my body and to be healthy and to just feel good. And instead of focusing on the amount that I'm eating, I'm really just trying to tune in with my body in the sense of my hunger cues, but also just trying to eat a mostly whole foods diet. I really try and steer clear of processed foods of any kind. And I've noticed that alone has helped to reduce significant inflammation. But it also just keeps me full for longer. And instead of focusing on how much I'm eating, I'm thinking about the quality of foods that I'm eating. And that, as a result, in turn, has also just made my body as a whole feel so much better. I literally never used to eat vegetables before, which is a little bit crazy. I ate so much bread too. I love bread. Don't get me wrong. Bread, so yummy, but I still eat bread. But now, instead of constantly turning to bread multiple times a day as a carb source, I'll eat other things like dates or oatmeal or bananas, which are all like much more nutrient dense options and also just more satiating food options. So you can be strong and feel beautiful and empowered in the gym when you look at yourself in the mirror. It just all comes down to how you talk to yourself, how you view yourself, and just be confident and accepting of your body and all the things it can do for you. Again, I know easier said than done, but I believe in you and I know that you got this. So, sorry, that was a little bit of a long rant there again, but I hope maybe that could be helpful in some way. Confession 2. All right. I was watching the morning YouTube stream on the first day of the 2023 CrossFit Games, and I noticed that 10% of the female competitors had the name Emma. You, Emma Carey, Emma Tall, Emma McQuaid. Later that day, I drove my usual route to work, and it took me past a new street that was being built. They finally put up the sign for the road, and the name was Emma's Way. Oh my gosh. When I got to work, I joked to my friend that since my name is Amanda and there was only one Amanda at the games versus 4 Emmas, I would have quadrupled the chance of making the games if I changed my name to Emma. Then I would use any prize money I won to help build a new house on Emma's Way. Very seriously, she told me not to put a deposit on the new house yet because 4 times a 0% chance of making the CrossFit Games is still 0. Oh my gosh, I'm dying. Okay, this is actually really funny. You're right though, there are so many Emmas, even when I was in school. Then being in CrossFit also, because Emma Carey was in my year as well, like we were basically the same age. I don't know, there's Emmas everywhere. I feel like, I don't know, I've just always had multiple Emmas in my class, in CrossFit, like just always. And it's also always funny because in the back area of competitions, if someone is trying to get one of the Emma's attention and someone will just say Emma, and it's like all of us are like alert and we're looking around and we're trying to figure out who's calling us, and then come to find out they're probably not calling us, they're probably calling one of the other many Emmas. But we're always like trying to figure out who's being called. I literally did that, I feel like last weekend at Rogue, but it always happens. Last names are definitely required. Oh, it also happened where we were being called, one of the staff was calling us and they just said Emma. And we were all like blankly looking at each other. We always have to be like, which one? And then they're like, oh yeah, Emma Lawson or Emma Tall or whoever, which is really funny. Also, the chances of that road being called Emma's Way is super ironic. What the heck? Especially because you were just thinking about that in the morning. I want to live on Emma's Way. I've never seen an Emma Street around. I have seen a Jerry Street. There's one near where I live, and Jerry's my middle name. So that's the closest I've got to seeing a street of my name. But I would love an Emma's Way. That's really cool. And as for making the games, though, your friend's comment is really funny. But anything can happen. Never say never. All right. Well, thanks for writing in. I loved reading this one. Confession 3. I was doing my EMOM and I was in a class of 8 people and I was in the middle of all of them. And in the middle of my workout, I was going from my dumbbell clean and press back to the rower when all of a sudden I accidentally stepped on the end of my rower and my legs completely gave out and I fell in front of everyone, but no one cared or laughed and mostly didn't even look, but someone said, "Are you okay?" quickly, then got back to work. But the whole point of this story is that you can literally do whatever you want in the gym. You don't have to be afraid to do whatever you want because no one cares. Just do what you want. I love this so much. I think this is a really good reminder, not only for being in the gym, but honestly just life in general. I actually saw this TikTok the other day and it reminded me of something similar to this story. And it was this girl, the video was of this girl and her friend was videotaping her and she was just dancing around and doing some like really funky moves. I think she was trying to be a little bit ridiculous. And I think, she was just running around, dancing. She was weaving through people the whole time. And this was all like waiting for the subway. So very crowded area. And the point of her video was similar to yours, was that literally no one even noticed her. No one noticed what she was even doing because everyone had their face in their phones. But I think this is such a good reminder and realization because so many of us, myself included, get so scared to try new things and put ourselves out there and be vulnerable because we're so scared of how we might be perceived by other people or if we mess up and make a mistake. So we literally end up never even trying. I hope that you're okay from your fall, but thank you so much for sharing this because I think sometimes we forget that we are the ones living our lives. No one else is living our life. So why should we be letting them be the ones to dictate the things that we try and do? So thank you so much for this reminder. That was a really great story. Confession 4. When I first started working out, I bought some used plates for very cheap to use at home. I don't know if they even make these anymore, but they were plastic and full of sand to give them their weight. I used them for a few months and then I suddenly started to make very fast progress. I was happy, but after a few days, I noticed some of the sand on the floor in the area where I stored them. Without me knowing, the plates formed small cracks and they started to lose a little sand each day. I decided after that to join an actual gym, and that is where I started to do CrossFit. Oh my gosh. Okay, that's actually really funny, but very unfortunate, I would say. That would be a huge sting to my confidence if that were me. But hey, any movement is good movement. So even though your weights were maybe getting a little bit lighter, at least you were still moving them. I love that this is your story though, as to how you started CrossFit. I can't say my story is as good. I feel like if someone's like, "Oh, why did you start CrossFit?" or "How did you join CrossFit?" that's like a really good story to share. I think it's very funny and entertaining. But I hope that you've been enjoying doing CrossFit so far, and I wish you all the best. Confession 5. I've never really had anything interesting or funny happen to me at the gym to share on Strong Girl Confessions. That's okay. But recently something funny finally happened, and it was actually thanks to your podcast. Oh my gosh. I used to never talk about anything with any depth at the gym, or really anywhere for that matter, but I was inspired by Strong Girl Style to strike up a conversation with a good gym friend of mine about my thoughts and feelings. We were talking, and to tell the truth, I was stealing some of your ideas and tips. Sorry about that. I should probably give you credit when I'm repeating things I heard on your podcast. Anyway, we had a great conversation and we started to share our thoughts almost every day. The day after one of your podcast episodes was released, she said something that was very similar to what you said. I asked her where she heard it and she said, "Emma Lawson's podcast." Apparently, during all those talks, we were both inspired by your podcast to open up about our thoughts and feelings, and we were both stealing your ideas. Oh my gosh, I love this. After that, we told everyone at the gym how great Strong Girl Style is, and many of the members now listen, even some of the men. Almost everyone can relate to at least some of your experiences and tips. Thank you so much for doing the podcast. It has gotten me to think, write, and talk about my life, priorities, and feelings, and that is something I never did before. It is very helpful and inspiring, and if my experience at my gym is any indication, I think you have a greater impact on more people than you probably think. Oh my gosh, I'm literally speechless. Literally, I don't even have words right now. When I started this podcast, I thought maybe it would just be my mom. Love you, Mom. But I truly thought it might just be my mom and some family members and the occasional friends listening. And I cannot tell you how much truly this means to me right now. And whether you know it or not, you guys honestly inspire me so much all the time with the Q&As that I do and the questions that you ask and the confessions here that you guys share, and when I get to meet you in person at comps. I always just wanted to create a space where I could share my life experiences, because there was a time I felt really alone in the things that I was going through, and the more I started to talk about them, the more I realized that I actually wasn't alone, and there were actually so many other people that had felt the same way in certain periods of their lives. And if I could help at least one person feel like they have a community to be a part of or someone to relate to, I just want to be that person for them. And it means a lot to me that you've shared that I've inspired you in some way, because that's just been my goal from the start with this platform. I just want to help. And, through CrossFit and my success there, I've been able to have this platform. And I just want to use it in a way that can connect people, inspire people, encourage people, and make people feel less alone. So thank you for sharing. Your comment and story means more to me than you will ever know. And I obviously appreciate you spreading the word about my podcast also. And I think it's really cool that you and your friend were able to build a deeper connection through this podcast. I just love you guys, and I'm always so appreciative of the support and the kind words that I get. Sorry to get all ooey gooey on here right now, but for real, you guys are honestly the best. Okay, well, I know this was kind of another shorter episode, but that is all the confessions for now. Again, please do not hesitate to share your stories. It can literally be anything. Don't feel like it has to be anything, crazy or whatever. I always love sharing all the thoughts that you guys have and your experiences and all of that. So again, don't hesitate to reach out. But that seems like a good note to leave it on for today. I hope you guys have a really fabulous week. Oh, wait, we forgot to do the Strong Girl segment. So right before you guys leave, I'm going to leave you with a quote that I found online, and it reads, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. So think happy and positive." All right, that is all for today, and I will see you guys on the next one.